Sighting, which was originally known as Paper Dolls. Don't know why they chose that title, but it doesn't really make sense, but they've changed it to The Sighting. Now this one is written and directed by both David Blair and Adam Pitman. Pitman actually has a role in the movie as well, so he's clearly multi-talented. And apparently this film has been in production for absolutely ages, nearly 10 years, and has only recently seen the light of day. And for lack of a better word, it's a Sasquatch movie, but it does have a few twists and turns in it. The actual plot of the movie focuses on this one young lad as he is travelling to Canada with his friend. They decide to take a shortcut through the woods, where they of course encounter some mysterious entities, shall we say. They're attacked, one of them seems to go missing, the other one tries to go and get help and comes back with the other guy's brother. Then all hell starts to break loose. Add to that, you've got the police investigation, you've got a guy who seemingly knows what's going on, and a few twists and turns along the way. So what do I think about The Sighting? I'd say I quite enjoyed this film. It's clearly a low budget movie, but I have to say I thought the storytelling was actually quite good here, and that's obviously one of the main components for a good movie. It's not a typically straight linear film either. There are a few kind of jump cuts here and there where you might see a few flashbacks. But one thing the film does do, which is quite unique, it actually tells you two versions of a story. There is the A storyline, which will take up 90% of the film, but there's also a truncated version of events that is like an alternative version that you know what I mean when you see the movie. And I actually thought that was quite fun. And it's obviously up to you which one you decide you want to believe. So what do I think and didn't like about this movie? Let's start off with the negatives first of all. The main negatives for me is there's clearly some dumb decisions made purely to push the story forward. So people make decisions that they wouldn't rationally make, not for what people would really do in real life, but to make the story go forwards. For example, when we have the survivor of the first attack, he comes across this garage and he calls the police, but he can't get through to them, so he ends up calling his mate instead, who somehow, even though they're on a mobile, seems to get through perfectly fine and doesn't bother calling the police back, and decides to go back into the woods, very ill-equipped, without any torches or anything, or flashlights as you call them in the States. And obviously things go worse for the guys. Now, it's just stuff like that, basically, stuff which doesn't really make sense in a real-world scenario, but is made for storytelling purposes to make, drama, essentially. So that was a bit of a negative, but to be honest with you, other than the kind of just the general kind of cheapness, and I feel people may be a little bit disappointed with the kind of the creatures, and also the ending. Some people may feel a little bit unsatisfying to a certain degree. There is a kind of mid-credit sequence, I will say that, but even so, I still feel some people may be a little bit discouraged by the ending. I have to say I really enjoyed this film though. I think it was well made, certainly well directed. I feel Blair and Pitman obviously have hopefully a bright future ahead of them. I thought they did some good work here. I actually thought this did a decent enough job of creating a good amount of tension and an interesting narrative where which keeps you enthralled, but also keeps you guessing and kind of has a few kind of bait and switches along the way as well. So I did appreciate that. I actually have to say as well, I thought the acting seemed quite genuine, especially when we have these two guys who are acting as friends. The way they act basically just seems very genuine, like real friends really would do. So I did appreciate that. And we come to the effects. There are a couple of okay, sort of attack sequences. You don't really see a lot on screen here. It's not a found footage film, but you don't ever really see much in the way of the actual quote creatures themselves. They actually suggest to you some kind of origin, which you can choose not to believe or believe if you want to go with it. But it's a different type of origin, I would say, from that you've probably heard from the Sasquatches, which is interesting, but not quite as exciting, maybe, as some of the other kind of Sasquatch origins you may have seen, because that's a hard word to explain. Sasquatch origins. Try saying that 3 times. Anyway, overall, I thought this was a decent horror entry for a low-budget movie. I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite an enthralling film, kept my interest, liked the characters, and a good pace and a good storytelling. So I have to say I would probably recommend this one. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.